The Pegasus World Cup Invitational, January 28th at Gulfstream Park in Hallandale Beach, Florida. It is the richest race in the world with the matchup of two of the best racehorses in the world. In an industry where we are in dire need of innovative ideas, the Stronach Group has given us just that. Welcome to the Morning Line. I am Brittany Erden alongside Matt Carruthers, and a big announcement this morning. We here at TVG take pride in giving you extensive and exclusive coverage for the biggest races in this country. And with the $12 million race, Matt, there's no surprise that we are upping the ante. Kate and Braid are always live on site giving us the most insightful information. Matt, we are adding a full team, full coverage leading up to the day's races, some features, handicapping preview shows. We have a lot going on. It is going to be thrilling, and it is exclusive just to our TVG viewers.
We're inside of 10 days.
Yes.
We're inside of 10 days. 9 days from now. This incredible innovation is going to come to fruition in the Pegasus World Cup. The $12 million, the two biggest names in our game in California Chrome and Arrogate, the rematch that we've wanted since they crossed the finish line 1-2 in the Breeders' Cup Classic in the early part of November. The thing we're, again, full crew, on site, the next 9 days leading up to the race. I think the behind-the-scenes stuff is going to be the coolest stuff that we're going to bring you over the next week plus.
Oh, absolutely. It is coverage that you cannot get anywhere else behind the scenes, like Matt was saying. Let's take a look at what exactly is coming to you right here on TVG. As mentioned, we've got a full crew out there. Kate and Braid are going to be joined by Todd, Scott, Paul, Mike, Christina, Simon. Yeah. You can see all of the day's events. So we've got the Starting Gate Works Edition. You're going to see all 12 competitors in a work-style show and analysis from our analysts. That's at 8 a.m. Pacific time on Sunday, both TVG and TVG2. We're going to show you the Pegasus Cup draw show.
Very cool.
How key is that going to be?
I think it's important. I think it is. I think, for California Chrome, we know he doesn't like the rail, so he probably doesn't want to break from the inside. At the same time, if he's inside of Arrogate, if Arrogate's towards the outside, he's in the middle of the pack. That's probably where Art Sherman wants to be, and Bob Baffert just fine, I think, being a little bit towards that outside, sitting off of California Chrome, and this is what I'm excited about. Tuesday, all access for the Pegasus Cup, the debut Tuesday, January 24th.
8:30 a.m. Pacific time on both TVG and TVG2. Everything will be on both the networks, so make sure to tune in throughout the entire week as we lead up to the big day, Saturday, January 28th, 6:30 a.m., bright and early, the Starting Gate Show, Pegasus Cup Edition. Now, as always, our coverage of Gulfstream Park would not be complete without Kate and Braid. Kate, you have been our ears and our eyes out there at Gulfstream Park. What can we look forward to with your involvement of the Pegasus World Cup?
Well, Brittany, first, we have to thank the Stronach Group as well as the owners, the stakeholders in the Pegasus, 12 individuals or individual groups who are willing to ante up $1 million apiece for the chance to compete in something that has never been done before in the industry, and our coverage unprecedented of this event, too. And I am so excited to have everyone joining me here to take in the Florida sunshine and also capture the excitement that's been building really for months down here, but has now kind of reached a boil. The workouts I'm especially excited about because it gave me an opportunity to go to Palm Beach Downs yesterday and see Breaking Lucky, but we'll have coverage of all the competitors that at this point have been assembled and lined up. Remember, the field will be set with that draw on Monday, but up until then, there still could be some last-minute changes, and most notably, the situation changing in New Orleans at the fairgrounds, where there has been a 25-day plus quarantine going on that has restricted movement of the horses that were stabled on the grounds in New Orleans. That has affected all of the state of New Orleans and many other neighboring states. So far, there's no ban on horses entering the state of Florida from New Orleans or any place else, for that matter, at this point. And Gunrunner and his connections have been hoping that things would improve, that the quarantine might be lifted in time for him to have a shot to run. That's looking a little bit brighter as the announcement came through from the fairgrounds last night that there is a possibility that the quarantine on the barns that haven't been affected by the herpes virus in its various strains, any of those barns that have not had an incident would be released from quarantine beginning perhaps as early as Saturday. Now, if that happens, the door open, at least a crack, for Gunrunner to be able to make the trip to South Florida. I mentioned Florida hasn't put a ban in place, but they would have to be willing to accept those horses, and Gulfstream Park Management also would have to allow that to happen. There is a 72-hour rule in place, but I'm told there is a clause that allows for some exceptions. So we have to wait and see if Gunrunner assumes the position of one of the horses that has already been stated as a starter, and that's another aspect of this race and this event that is so unique and makes it so exciting. All the wheeling and dealing, the different situations and scenarios that have panned out to actually get to the point of having a horse in the starting gate for the richest race in the world.
Yeah, and Kate, and without this race, we wouldn't see the rematch we all want to see. We wouldn't be seeing California Chrome versus Arrogate without this race.
Absolutely, great point. And that's one thing. Regardless of the outcome of the race and what happens going forward, you have to really hand it to Frank Stronach and the folks at the Stronach Group for coming up with this concept that would enable us to have an event post-Breeders' Cup that could truly be a championship event that would gather the very best horses, and including the two very best that came down to the wire in the Breeders' Cup Classic. If we didn't have this race, there is no question we would not be seeing California Chrome, and in all likelihood, we wouldn't be seeing Arrogate either. Bob Baffert, trainer of Arrogate, has made few and far between trips to South Florida for the Gulfstream Park meet. So this is really a combination of factors that have brought about a situation that you don't see happen very often, not just here, but in racing, period.
Oh, absolutely. $12 million Pegasus Cup. This is our week programming. A special race deserves special coverage. And Caton was mentioning, obviously, this is a brand new idea, extremely innovative of Frank Stronach to do this. And we're going to have a feature called The Grand Experiment, focusing on just that.
How it came to be.
How it came to be, exactly. And Caton, you mentioned the wheeling and the dealing. I think that is one of the most interesting aspects of this entire thing. We saw 12 people within, I believe, the first 3 days of the announcement coming out of the Pegasus World Cup Invitational. Those slots were filled, and we have seen numerous stakeholders change hands with different horses, different owners and trainers. It makes it exciting in a sport that needs something like this, don't you think?
It really does. And one thing I noticed even as late as yesterday, an additional owner added to the ownership group that will be campaigning Breaking Lucky for the Pegasus. It's kind of a one-stop only situation, but that is bringing some people together that might otherwise not ever be associating with each other or going into an ownership venture, and who knows what it could lead to down the line. But even more importantly, I think, has just been the fun in seeing people, a situation like the McInvale camp, traveling outside the country to South America to get Aragon as a horse, as a replacement of sorts when things didn't pan out the way they had hoped for with Run Happy. But you had owners that had a really good horse like a California Chrome. You had owners who didn't have a horse but had a stake or spot in the gate like Starlight Racing that eventually decided on a horse that they had racing. And then you had connections of Arrogate who didn't have a spot in the gate but who would seek out Juddmonte, that is, in making a deal with those who already had the starting spot. That would be the Coolmore camp. So every single horse has a very unique and different story surrounding the ownership group, and I'm really looking forward to hearing more about the various individuals that are coming together for this historic event.
Kate, I know we have to skedaddle. One last question before we let you go. You mentioned Gunrunner is now a real possibility for the race. You were saying on the air, I think, 4 or 5 days ago, that Florent Drew, after his most recent drill, said that's the best he's ever worked?
Absolutely. And I can tell you that there was a lot of disappointment in the camp that he wouldn't be able to make the trip. Now, Florent is going to be here to ride on the undercard. And Matt, Brittany, one thing to keep in mind, not only is the Pegasus, of course, the starring attraction of the day, but the track is putting together the concept of numerous great races and stakes races that may even be expanded upon in the future. But one of the undercard races, the Poseidon, was specifically designed for overflow horses, so to speak, from the Pegasus, or horses who maybe weren't quite up to that challenge, but at the same time were very good horses in their own right. So stakeholders would potentially have kind of an A horse and a B horse for the Pegasus, and then the B horse, if he didn't end up running in place of the A horse, could end up in the starting gate for the Poseidon. So the Poseidon potentially could be a really exciting race that on any other day, if we didn't have the Pegasus, would be a major starring attraction across the country. And I think, you know, with Gunrunner, that potentially is the case, that perhaps there's been a deal made beforehand that in the event that he can get out of quarantine, he would start, and then the horse that's already been announced as a starter would then move into the Poseidon in all likelihood. So, you know, it's really kind of an intriguing aspect, a sidebar to the original story surrounding the race. But we, and especially as my husband represents Florent Geroux and is his agent, are very excited about the prospect of Gunrunner being able to make the trip.
He would be a huge addition to the field. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
once again, each and every day, morning and afternoon, giving us the best information. Innovative, fresh, knew exactly what the sport needs. $12 million on the line. We can officially say that is the richest race in the entire world, and we've got full coverage coming to you leading up to the day's event. And it's going to be a spectacle. You know that it is not only going to be a phenomenal race, it is going to be a party out there in Hallandale Beach.
And the weather's supposed to be perfect.
Yes. We needed the weather.
Cross our fingers. It's supposed to be about 70 degrees and sunny, cool for this time of year. No rain in the forecast at this point. And you're going to have the Pegasus World Cup, the race that everyone wants to watch, surrounded by a great gambling card that they're going to put on display at Gulfstream a week from Saturday.
Hey, mentioning the Poseidon,
yeah.
I know Todd Pletcher probably going to have a pair of runners in there. Doug O'Neill, she mentioned the A and B horses. His B horse is most likely going to be in the Poseidon. It is going to be a thrilling day, incredible wagering opportunities, exclusive coverage you can only get here on TVG. So make sure to tune in leading up to the day's event and have that wagering account up and at the ready. Joining Kate and Bradar out live on site. They headed out yesterday. If you follow Todd TVG on the Twitter, he looked like a kid in a candy store, ear-to-ear smiles as he landed out there in Florida. Yeah. Todd, Simon, Paul, Scott, Mike, and Christina all out there throughout the week giving us all of that phenomenal coverage. I am excited. I am ecstatic. You hit it right on the head. We would not see this matchup if they did not make this race.
No, definitely. I mean, 100% you wouldn't see this matchup. So even if some of you out there are like, why is so-and-so in this race for $12 million? Oh, come on, get over it. You're going to see Arrogate versus California Chrome. That's what you want to see.
What more could you want? Thank you to the Stronach Group and, again, to the 12 stakeholders that are making this happen, and to you, the viewer, and our customers, because without you, this would not be possible. So we will have full coverage and continual conversation about the Pegasus World Cup Invitational to come.